When Elon Musk accepts a wild Christmas bet to marry a stranger, no one expects what happens next to change everything. The snow fell softly outside the tall glass windows of a grand Los Angeles mansion inside the annual Christmas gala was alive with energy, an event full of luxury where every guest sparkled under the light of crystal chandeliers. The air was filled with laughter, expensive champagne, and whispers about billion-dollar DS. At the center of it all stood Elon Musk, a man known for achieving the impossible. Unlike the others who relaxed in their custom-made suits, Elon stood apart. He wore a simple, well-fitted black tuxedo and leaned against the bar, sipping his whiskey. Neat. His eyes shifted between his phone and the lively crowd. A faint smirk appeared on his face as he glanced at updates about SpaceX's Mars mission. Elon put that phone away already. A teasing voice interrupted. It was Richard Clean, another tech mogul known for his bold personality and love of mischief. He clinked his glass against Elon. Even on Christmas, you're thinking about rockets and AI. Elon raised an eyebrow and set his phone down. If humanity's future on Mars depends on me taking a break, we're doomed. Richard laughed, his eyes gleaming with amusement. You're always looking at the big picture. Tell me, Elon, when was the last time you did something completely spontaneous, something unpredictable and human? Elon tilted his head, curious but cautious. I take risks every day, starting companies, building rockets, driving innovation. Those are the biggest risks. That's business. Richard said, leaning closer. I mean something personal. Something that can't be planned or engineered. Do you ever let life surprise you? Before Elon could answer, Richard pointed to the crowd. Here's an idea. A Christmas bet. Marry someone here tonight. Completely random, no algorithms, no calculations, just pure chance prode to us that even Elon Musk can take a gamble on love. The group of billionaires and celebrities around them erupted in laughter and gasps. It was ridiculous even for this eccentric crowd, yet all eyes turned to Elon, waiting for his reaction. For a moment, Elon stared at Richard, his face unreadable. Then, to everyone's surprise, he smiled slightly. Interesting, he said, his tone amused and curious. You think I can't do it? I know you can't, Richard replied, grinning. You're brilliant, Elon, but love is chaos, and chaos is out of your control. Elon's gaze swept across the room, studying the faces. Most were the usual crowd models in designer gowns, influencers posing for pictures, and socialites chasing attention. But then his eyes landed on someone different. Near the dessert table stood Sarah Thompson, adjusting a tray of miniature cheesecakes. She was part of the catering team, dressed in a simple black uniform that didn't hide her fuller figure. Her curly auburn hair was tied in a bun, and her round glasses kept slipping down her nose as she worked. What caught Elon's eye wasn't her looks, but how she carried herself while everyone else sought attention. Sarah moved confidently, content in the background. She laughed softly with a colleague, her voice warm and natural. She'll do, Elon said suddenly. Nodding towards Sarah, Richard turned to see and almost choked on his drink. Her, are you serious? Completely. Elon placed his glass down and straightened his jacket without hesitation. He began walking towards Sarah, his steps steady and sure. The crowd parted as he walked, murmurs growing louder with each step. By the time he reached Sarah, she was wiping her hands on a napkin, unaware of the attention. Excuse me, Elon said, his voice calm but firm. Sarah looked up, startled. Her hazel eyes widened as she recognized him, but she quickly composed herself. Can I help you, Mr. Musk? Yes, he replied, his tone casual yet strange. Marry me. The room fell silent. Sarah blinked, thinking she'd misheard. I'm sorry. What, marry me? Elon repeated as if he were asking for a drink tonight. For a moment, Sarah just stared at him. Then she burst out laughing. Is this a joke? Did someone dare you to do this? Elon's expression stays serious. I'm completely serious. You seem smart, grounded, and most importantly, real. I think you'd be a great partner for this experiment. Sarah raised an eyebrow, her laughter fading. Experiment. Wow, That's quite a proposal. He tilted his head, intrigued by her sarcasm. I'll explain everything if you say yes. But first, are you willing to take a chance? The crowd held its breath, waiting for her answer. Sarah glanced around, realizing everyone was watching. Part of her wanted to walk away from the craziness, but a small voice in her head whispered, "Why not? After all, it was Christmas, and this night had been anything but normal." She crossed her arms and looked him in the eye. "Fine, let's do it, but don't expect me to make this easy for you, Mr. Musk." Elon smiled a genuine smile that lit up his face. "I wouldn't dream of it." The air was electric as the unlikely pair walked through the ground, who walked beside her with the same calm determination he probably brought to launching rockets. "This is insane," she muttered under her breath. "You agreed," Elon replied, simply glancing at her. "No one forced you." She snorted, her breath visible in the frosty air. "You're right. I guess I have a thing for bad ideas." Elon chuckled softly, a sound that surprised even him. "Good, this might be the best bad idea you've ever had." The two were whisked away in a sleek black Tesla, its heated seats doing little to ease Sarah's nerves as they drove through the sparkling streets of Los Angeles. Elon made a quick call. Find a chapel open, IT staff it, and prepare for a wedding. 2 hours. Max. The efficiency with which he gave the order made Sarah's head spin. "You make it sound like you're scheduling a board meeting," she said, shaking her head. "Time is money," Elon replied with a shrug, "and weddings are just logistics with sentimentality layered on top." Sarah raised an eyebrow. Romantic, he turned to her, his expression unreadable. "Do you want romance or honesty?" The question hung in the air before she could answer. They arrived at a small, elegantly decorated chapel tucked away in the Hollywood Hills. Lights were already on, and a handful of staff members stood outside ready to make this impromptu wedding happen. Inside the chapel was intimate and warm with soft golden lights and simple white flowers lining the pews. A justice of the peace stood at the altar, looking bemused, but ready to officiate. Elon's assistant arrived with a garment bag and handed it to Sarah. "Mr. Musk." "Thought you might want to change," she said with a polite smile. Sarah opened the bag to find a stunning ivory dress, simple but elegant in her size. She glanced at Elon, her expression a mix of suspicion and surprise. "How did you—" "I pay attention to details," he said, cutting her off. Sarah couldn't decide whether to be flattered or annoyed still. She took the dress and disappeared into the dressing room. When she returned, the crowd that had gathered couldn't take their eyes off her. The dress hugged her curves in all the right places, and for the first time that night, Sarah felt something other than nervousness, confidence. Elon stood waiting at the altar, his sharp tuxedo immaculate. His hands clasped behind his back, he glanced at her, and for a brief moment his usual stoicism faltered. "You look beautiful," he said quietly. Sarah blinked, caught off guard. "Thanks," she replied, her voice softer than before the ceremony began, with a handful of curious guests and staff filling the pews. The justice of the peace cleared his throat, clearly amused by the unconventional couple standing before him. "We gather here tonight on Christmas Eve to celebrate a union that is as unexpected as it is unique." He began earning a few chuckles from the audience when it was time for the vows. Elon went first. His words were short, direct, and unapologetically logical. "I can't promise perfection or predictability. What I can promise is that I'll approach this with the same commitment I bring to everything important in my life. I believe in taking risks, and this might be the most interesting one yet." The crowd murmured, some impressed, others skeptical. Sarah, on the other hand, spoke from the heart. She took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she began. "I don't know what this is or what it will become. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that life rarely makes sense, and the best moments are the ones you don't see coming. So here's to chaos." Her words earned a round of applause, even from the usually stoic Elon, when the justice of the peace pronounced them husband and wife. Elon hesitated for a fraction of a second before leaning in. The kiss was brief but genuine, a moment of surprising intimacy that left the room silent as they exited the chapel. Cameras flashed outside. Paparazzi had somehow caught wind of the event, and the world was about to learn about the most shocking wedding of the decade. "How are you feeling, Mrs. Musk?" Elon asked as they climbed back into the Tesla. Sarah stared at him, still processing everything. "Honestly, like I just jumped out of a plane without a parachute." Elon smirked. "Don't worry. I've built plenty of safety nets in my life." The car sped off into the night, leaving behind a chapel full of stunned onlookers and the first whispers of a story that would soon captivate the entire world.